Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Shanna. So glad you're here today. Now, today I am super excited because these Joyful Season rub-ons from Spellbinders are back in stock at Spellbinders, and you can pick them up. I think they're $5.99, so it's a pretty inexpensive way to make some Christmas cards. There are two 6x8 sheets of rub-ons included in this, and there are 16 images and sentiments. And I'm just going to tear this package open, and we're going to pull them out and look at them. Now, I don't like to rip open the piece that has the tape on it when I use these, just because it can grab a hold of your rub-ons and ruin them. Ask me how I know. So I'm just going to cut the side of this off, and we're going to pull them out this way. So you can see this first panel, there's a church. There is a really beautiful ornament. You've got a little bear putting something on top of the tree, and then a Christmas tree. And then on the second one, you've got this little fairy, you've got a snowman, you've got a swan, and then you've got a bird, and you've got a lot of beautiful sentiments that go with it. And so we're going to work with this. Now, I did previously work with another rub-on and showed these on my channel, but they weren't available. They were sold out. And I'll link that video up so you can check them out. In fact, you might, if you do decide to pick them up, I think I'd pick up the two different sets. Being $5.99 a piece, you could get several Christmas cards made very easily with these rub-ons, and they look fantastic. So I'm going to work with the church. I just think it's beautiful. I love the gold splatter that's on there, and I'm going to, this is going to be my first card. So I've used my Perfect Touch Arch dies. I used them, I think, in yesterday's video as well, and I'm going to use some gold cardstock that I used in yesterday's video as well. And create these cards. So what I'm going to do is lay my little church scene kind of toward the top of my arch so that I will have room for my sentiment at the bottom of it. And it's a little bit wider than what my arch is, but I was okay with that. I'm just going to cut away the extra part, and it's really not going to be that big of a deal because I'm not really losing that much of an image there. And so we'll just get to rubbing on this and getting all of our scene on our panel. So I'm just going to take the popsicle stick and just run it across there and get this all adhered down, and then we'll have a beautiful scene. And I was just amazed at how easily this rubbed down and then pulled up beautifully. I didn't really have to make very many extra rubs on this particular one. It laid down very nice, and it is very detailed. So I'll just continue rubbing on here, and then we will lift it up and give the reveal. And you can see that it pulls up really nicely. I wasn't sure if I was going to need to press some more, and so I'm just going to gently lift it up, and our scene's going to be laid down on there very nicely. And I'm just taking my finger and just really lightly lifting it, and then I'm just going to pull it off. And there we go. We've got a beautiful arched scene, and it's just lovely. So I started to lay this back on here because I'm thinking I want to splatter on this panel in the areas of white that doesn't have any gold on it, just to make it match. And so I'm going to go ahead and lay my sentiment on here and just decide what sentiment I'm going to layer. And then I will bring in some gold splatter, and we'll do a little bit of splattering and just kind of filling in that white panel a little bit. So I'm going to choose Christmas Blessings. I'm just going to come in here and cut around. It looked like it was the right size to fit on my arch, and so I'm just going to cut it away, and we'll just get it laid down below our scene, and we'll have our little sentiment for the front of our card. So I'm just going to carefully lift it off there and then get it laid down on there. It's a little bit wider than I was afraid it would get into my other rub-on area, and so I just trimmed it down a little bit, and then I'm going to lay it down here on my arch. And then we'll just give it a press. And then we'll pull the release paper off. So I'm just going to rub this down really good, and then we'll pull it off. So today was a busy day. Oh, today was Gunner's birthday. We didn't have his party. We're having it this weekend, but Gunner is officially 4. And when I got there this morning, he was real sleepy, and I sang happy birthday to him. And he just grinned from ear to ear. And then was sleeping when his mom left for work. So when she got to work and she realized he was up, she called and sang happy birthday. And he he was almost shy about it, but it was so cute. But so our little Gunner is now 4. So I'm going to pull this Christmas blessings paper off here, and we're going to have our sentiment. And then we'll bring in the splatter, and we'll do some splattering on this and just kind of fill in our arch. And it won't look so barren on the top and the bottom of our panel. So I've got a 3D embossed panel. Actually, maybe it's 2D. It is the embossing folder of the month from Spellbinders, and it's a sweater pattern. And I'm going to use it on my card as well. And so I'm going to splatter it up too. I just thought we'd add some gold splatter to everything. And there is an art to the splattering that I have not mastered yet. I had a real hard time getting the splatter on the panel, but I had a fantastic time getting it all over my glass mat and my computer. So I think that means you need to splatter well below where you want it to go, because it seemed to have gotten all over the top of my desk and barely on my card. So I'm going to work this over really well. I sped it up because, I splattered and splattered and splattered to try and get this filled in. And shook and shook and shook that splatter. But I haven't worked with this type of splatter very much, so I guess I need to learn how to do it. So anyway, I had to clean off my desk and my computer and all of my things. I even got splatter on this panel. I got splatter on a piece of vellum that I was planning to use, so I had to get another piece out, and it's all over my hands. So I'm going to bring in this cardstock. I think it's cranberry from Spellbinders, and we're going to lay it down on our card base, and then we're going to use that white embossed panel and layer up, and then we'll use our 2 arches that we've got there, and we're going to just create a beautiful church Christmas blessings card. And you can see my card base is off, so I used my guillotine and cut it down. I've got this panel splattered up. We've got that embossed detail on there, and I'm just going to glue it up and get it laid down on my card base. So last night I had, actually yesterday I had all 5 kids, and I think I spoke about it on my video yesterday, but then I had the bigger boys that stayed all night, and so then they were sleeping in, and I had to get up and go get the little boys. And so I got up and kind of quietly left the house and went and got the little boys, and then came back, and they got to play together a good while before the bigger boys went home. So they had a good day. And of course we had Gunner's birthday. And so I decided Gunner loves pizza. So I thought I'm going to order pizza for lunch and have that for his little birthday lunch, because he loves pizza. In fact, he loves to eat. Anyway, so that's what we had. And then they took a good nap, and then their mom came and got him. So it was pretty nice day. So I'm going to get this arch laid down on here, and I'm using that gold cardstock that Daria had brought me when she came to visit. I used it on yesterday's channel, and I'm going to layer this up, and I think it looks beautiful, and it really matches nicely with the top, with the steeple of the church. And I've got some foam squares, and I'm just going to turn it over and put some foam squares on here. I took a little pause there. I don't know if you heard that noise in the background, but it was my husband and my dad talking. And so I had to pause my voiceover because I could hear them. Anyway, I'm going to get this arch laid down on here, and we've got a beautiful scene, and I think it's really pretty. And I think the gold splatter looks nice. I'm going to bring in these rose gold gems from Spellbinders, and we're going to lay them on there. So the noise was, my craft room is on the back side of the house, and it was in the backyard. My husband and my dad were out there, and I had said that we fared well with that storm that blew through here, and didn't realize, in fact, my husband didn't until tonight, he's working in the yard, that we had some damage to our fence, and he's going to have to do some repair to it. We had a couple of pretty long runs of our fence that apparently got damaged in the storm, and so we're going to have to work on that. So if that's all it was, we're in good shape, but we did have some really bad inclement weather on Monday evening. And so I had canceled my live that I was planning to do with Daria because we were just in the midst of it. We'd gotten our phones went off and we all got messages that said imminent threat in our area. And I never had that before. So this will finish off this card. And I think it looks really pretty. We're going to make a second one. And I'm going to do this one on vellum. I thought I would try vellum. Now, I had to get another piece of vellum because that splatter got all over the other piece that I had laying there that I was preparing to use. So I'm going to cut this little teddy bear out. I think it's super sweet. And he's got a little ornament there and a little tree and some gift boxes. And we're just going to use this one for our second card. And I could have used any of them. I thought about using the bird. It's kind of placed where you do the corner of the card, but I'll come back in and probably do some more cards with those later, but I'm going to use this bear because I thought he was super cute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the remnants from that gold arch that I used on the first card. I like to try and, if I die cut out an arch, I try to line things up so I have a good frame that I can use perhaps on another card. I didn't get this one lined up exactly right. The frame is a little bit off and you might notice it, but it's a handmade card and it's good enough for me. So I've got my popsicle stick and I've sped this up. I'm going to do a bunch of rubbing on here. This is pretty detailed and I had to rub a little bit more on this one than the other one to get it to come off. So I'm speeding it up and we'll just peel it off. And I'm going to go over it again because I could see some of those little splatters were not laying down, so I'm just going to go over it again and then we'll pull it off. And we've got a cute little scene, and you could rub these things on vellum very nicely. Now I had contemplated laying it on my card base because I'm going to do some frames around it, but then I thought, no, let's bring in some vellum and it'll kind of soften it. We won't have that stark white from the card base. So that's why I chose to use the vellum for this, and it's going to just be kind of a soft scene. And I'm carefully pulling this one up, just checking it as I go to make sure I don't mess it up. And now I've got a nice little rub on this piece of vellum, and I think it is super, super sweet. So here are my panels, and I've got the gold panel that I die cut that arch out for the other card, and I've got some cranberry. I'm just bringing in, I wanted to make my cards match since we're, going to take some pictures of them. And I used a larger, actually a smaller arch for the cranberry because I'm going to layer this underneath the gold. And both of those are A2 size panels, so I want to cut this A2 size panel down smaller than the other one, and then I won't have to worry about it peeking out on one side or the other. And so I'm just going to trim it down, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I think I come back in and trim it down a little bit more after I look at it, and then we're just going to create just kind of almost like a shadow box or a tunnel, like a tunnel type card. So I've got foam on the back of this gold, and it's going to be raised, and this is kind of what I'm going to go for here. So I'm just going to eyeball it. I've decided to go ahead and trim that side off a little bit more, and then we'll get it layered up. And I did that because one side of my arch is whiter than the other one. That's what I mean. I didn't get it die cut out perfectly, but I think it's going to be fine. And then we'll just layer these up. And I want to make sure I get a nice little frame all the way around there. I'll pull the backer sheets off this. I already put some foam tape on there, and then we'll get it laid down on there. Now my husband's mowing in the backyard, so if you hear the mower going, that's what's going on. So it got pretty loud as he got outside my door, and so I took a break and let him get the backyard mowed, and I went and made some chicken salad. So we're going to have some chicken salad for dinner. I actually tried a new recipe, and I've never put a little dollop of mustard in my chicken salad, and this recipe called for it, and I tried it, and I did like it. So that's what we're going to have for dinner. So I'm layering this arch up, and we've got the gold frame and the cranberry frame, and then we're just going to trim our vellum down so that it will fit inside this area as well. And we'll just get our frames added to our vellum, and then we have got the components of our card coming together. Now I had a little bit of foam sticking out on the back of that, and it grabbed it, but not enough. So I'm going to pull it off, and I'll just spread some glue all the way around there, and then we'll get it laid down. I'm going to keep it around the outer edges so that I don't get any on my scene, and we'll just get this adhered, and then we'll be ready to put it on our card base. I had 2 or 3 pieces of this gold cardstock that Daria had given me, and I'm making the most of it. I really like the color, and it really pairs nicely with the colors that are in this rub-on set. So I've got that on there. I'm just going to put some glue on the back of it and we'll get it laid down on the card base. I've got a little bit of vellum hanging across the bottom there, so I'm just going to take my scissors and trim it off, and then we'll get it laid down on our card base. I guess I pushed the seam down a little bit further than when I measured, and so I had that little extra bit of vellum there. So we'll just line this up on there. And I think it looks really pretty. And I had in my mind that I wanted to add a bow to this. And so I remember there was a great big bow in the club, one of the club kits of the month. And so I went and grabbed it and I die cut it out in the cranberry as well. And I'm going to get it added to my card base. Now I fiddled with this because I couldn't remember how I assembled it the last time. And since I did all this fiddling and fumbling around with it, I sped it up because it was a good amount of time of me going, does this go here? Does that go there? Which way do I want it to go? And this is an interesting bow. You could put it in either direction, and I think you'll see me flip-flop it going in different directions, but I ultimately go with it in this direction. And it has really long ribbons. And once I get it assembled, and see, I flipped it so you can see what it looked like going like that. And I thought, well, I could just make that the hang down part. And I thought, no, I want to do the ribbons. So I'll get this all assembled, and then I'll realize that the ribbons are too long, which I kind of thought they would be. That's why I had considered assembling it a little differently. And I'll hold it up there, and I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. So I decided to just rip them off and to cut them down. I want the bottom of them because it's got that nice little fishtail there. And we'll just position them like that, and then it'll fit better. And I've still got a pretty good sized bow, and I think it looks nice on there with a cranberry cardstock. It matches up nice. And I'm just going to lay it up here in this upper corner and just have it be my embellishment for this particular card. So I'll just get it positioned on there, give it a little press. And I think it's cute. So I really didn't want to put the sentiment on the front of this, so I'm just going to bring in one of the sentiments and I'm going to lay it down on the inside of my card base. And I've chosen May Your Christmas Be Bright, and I'm just going to rub it right on the inside of my card base, and then that will finish off the inside of our card. So I'm looking for my popsicle stick, which I lost. I wasn't sure where I laid it, but I had a couple more, so I just brought it in, and we'll give this a good burnish, and then we will be able to pull that off, and I'll have the sentiment for the inside of this card, and I think it looks lovely. So we'll just give that a lift, and it just pulled off really nice, and there we go. So that'll finish off our second card. I think they're super pretty. I love the colors, love the cranberry. I've taken some pictures so that you can look at them close up, and I hope you like the video, and if you do, here is some more that you might be interested in watching. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.